Check out the size of that guy. I don't know if you can see through the camera. He's got to be at least 2 meters long. Monster. Wet season is well and truly underway, but every now and then we just get these epic days like today, and I just feel compelled to spend the whole day outside. Look at this beautiful weather. So today I'm heading to a part of the city that I actually very rarely go. However, unfortunately, it's not for good reasons. So I am going to be heading to Chatuchak. I actually got off the station early. I like to do that. Sometimes I'll get off the station early and just go for a walk. And given that it's such a beautiful day, which might change at any time, I want to take full advantage of it. So if you don't know, Chatuchak Market is one of Bangkok's largest markets. It's got a little bit of everything really. A lot of it is actually really touristy, but there is one part of the market that I came to see in particular, and well, like I said, the reason, it's not a good one. So sadly, a couple of nights ago, there was a really bad fire here at Chatuchak Market, and I happened to be in one of the sections where all the animals were staying. So just behind me here is a large section. There was over 1,000 animals in here, and unfortunately with the fire, they were all burned to death, which is really sad. The fire was started from a fan that was left on to keep the animals cool overnight, and the fan overheated and ended up catching on fire. And then unfortunately this whole section has just gone up, and it's crazy to come down here and see it in person. It's really sad. So as I take a walk past here, you can see this is all, I mean, the building's fallen down, everything is completely burnt. The sad thing is where you see the cages inside, you can see where the animals were, unable to escape. Don't look too closely. Man, this is crazy to see. I was actually down here like a week ago. I want to get a cat, and I came down to look at some here. I fell in love with one actually. And it's just, as you walk around here and see this section, it's so sad. Chatuchak Market has a huge pet zone, and they've actually come under quite a bit of criticism in the past. Come under a lot of pressure for selling exotic animals and selling animals that you probably shouldn't sell in a weekend market, and there was a lot of emphasis on animal cruelty here. But in recent years, they've really sort of cleaned that up, and it turned it into more of sort of, it's like a giant pet store, this section of the market essentially. Now, when I heard about this news, I wanted to come down and see it firsthand. As I said, I've been here just recently, and I know like there's hundreds of pet stores here, and in my mind I thought, God, if that whole section had caught on fire, that is really, really tragic. Now, what has happened, I can see from being here, yes, there has been a large section of the market that has caught on fire, but actually the majority of the pet section is still okay, which is, I guess, a silver lining to all of this. Now, don't get me wrong, while this is really, really sad what's happened, coming down here, I'm actually somewhat relieved because the section that's burnt down is only actually a very small section of where all the animals are, but when I saw it on the news, they kind of painted the image as if the entire place had burnt down, but the section's probably about 50 by 30 meters. That's all gone, but the rest, this entire section's all up here and back down the other way, that are all completely fine and operating as normal. I've just come to the indoor section of this market. Everything is all fine here, and this is where a lot of the animals are kept in here. Somewhere around here was where I saw the cat that I absolutely fell in love with. But it's great to walk around here and see that this section is completely fine. So I just had a really interesting chat with the guys in that little store. That was the place that I saw the cat that I really liked. So I went in there to see, the cat wasn't there. So I went in there just to have a chat to them and see what was happening, get their thoughts on the fire and everything that had happened down here. What was really interesting to me was he talked a lot about all the regulations and everything that they need to abide by. So as I mentioned, this market came under a bit of scrutiny in the past for animal cruelty or selling animals incorrectly. So he said there's a whole bunch of regulations they need to abide by, which is fine. They're all very basic ones. So they have to have a license, they have to be legally able to sell the animals that they do, and they have to be caring for them. He said there's regular inspections there to make sure that they're looking after the animals. But he said for that store, it's in their best interest to look after the animals, have them well presented so that people want to come to buy them anyway. They're essentially, it's a pet store essentially. There was 3 cats in there that I really liked and they were all gone. He said there's a really high turnover in these stores, so it's not like the animals will come here, live here for years. He said they sell around 15 cats per month. You know, some days they sell none, other days they'll probably sell 3 or 4, but it is good to know that there is a high turnover of the animals in there. Yeah, pet snake? I never saw the appeal. Maybe it's because I'm Australian and we don't like snakes. Well, I have to say, for as sad as this is, I'm actually really happy. I had envisioned coming here and this entire place had been burnt to the ground. I actually kind of thought I was going to have to sneak in because I figured it'd be all fenced off for repairs, but it's only just a really, really small section in there that has been burnt down, which is good. It's still, obviously, it's still really, really sad, but I gotta say I am pleasantly surprised with how it is today. Now, I learned something just recently, which I found really fascinating, and that's about the relationship Thai people have with animals, and in particular, animals that we often think of as pets. So recently, after meeting this cat and falling in love with it, I reached out to my landlord and asked if I could have a cat. My landlord is really cool. They let me do whatever I want. They've never bothered me. I've been a great tenant, so I thought they'd be on board with it. And she got back to me and said, unfortunately, no, you can't have a cat. And I went back and I said, well, look, I'm willing to pay more rent. I'm willing to replace all the furniture with furniture of my own in the house if that's what you're worried about. Basically, there's no risk for them here. And what she explained to me, the lady that I deal with, she's younger and she lives in the UK. She's very westernized, but the actual owner of the place is her parents. Now, what she told me was the older generation of Thai people, they don't understand the concept of wanting to have a cat or a dog in the house. To them, cats and dogs are animals that roam around in the streets. Back home, I'm from Australia, we don't have street dogs and street cats. Like, there may be some, but not very many, not like we have here. The irony of all of this is the lady that I deal with, she has a pet cat. She loves cats, but she said just her parents, which are the owners of the place, they will not be able to get their head around the fact that I want to have a cat inside the house. So I have just come around to Lumpini Park. I actually come down here quite often. I'll come at least once a week, a couple of times a week with my girlfriend, and we come and feed the cats here. There's a lot of cats just as I'm saying this, I can see one just up ahead here. There's lots of cats that live here in the park. So we go buy cat food from 7-Eleven and come down and feed a bunch of them. It's really fun. Look. Hello, Suji.
It's for you.
This little guy is one of our favorite cats. We call him Sushi because he loves to eat those little seaweed strips for whatever reason. Super random, but just such a lovely cat. These things that you buy in 7-Eleven. He loves them. He ate them all? So we have a few favorites that we always go see, and one of them just became a mom, just gave birth to these tiny, teeny tiny little kittens. They're so cute. So we're gonna go feed the mama now. This is such a nice way to spend the afternoon. The little babies, they're actually growing really quickly, but they're getting more brave. They're starting to come outside more. They hide under that, whatever it is, umbrella and bucket and everything. They're starting to come out. They're getting more cute. Love doing this. So I hope this didn't come across as insensitive at all. When I got to the market, I really expected a large amount of it, or the majority of the animal amount of it, to be completely burnt down. And when I got there and saw it was only a really small section within there, I was very relieved. Obviously, it's terrible what happened. I feel really bad for all the animals involved. I just imagined it being on a much larger scale. So I was kind of happy to see that it was only a small amount, but again, not taking anything away from what did happen there. It's really, really sad, and I hope they put practices in place to avoid things like this happening again in the future.